Today I want to talk with you about the South Carolina state version of the Earned Income Tax Credit. So we're all very familiar with the federal Earned Income Tax Credit, right? So this is available for generally lower income taxpayers, most of which need to have some dependent children, right? So you need a qualifying child, although you can still get the Earned Income Tax Credit if you don't have any children, right? Your income just has to be below a certain level. But what a lot of people are not familiar with is that a lot of states have their own version of the credit. So approximately 30 states have their own version of the Earned Income Tax Credit for state tax purposes, and South Carolina is one such state. Now, South Carolina, frankly, has one of the more generous state Earned Income Tax Credits. For the 2021 tax year, it's 83.3% of the amount of your federal credit, which is very, very nice because a lot of states might do 10, 20, 30%. South Carolina gives you 83.3% of that credit, which is fantastic. So the first part to computing this is you got to do your federal return first, right? And the reason for this is because, again, the South Carolina portion of the credit is pegged to what you have for federal purposes, right? So you need to compute your federal tax credit first, and then you can move on to computing the state of South Carolina's EITC. So in this example, we've got John Q. taxpayer. He's a single filing taxpayer. He lives in Charleston, South Carolina, and you'll notice here he has no dependents. So he has no qualifying children, but because his income is low enough, he can still qualify for the EITC at the federal level and then ultimately again at the state level. So if John does his Earned Income Credit worksheet, and the amount of the credit that he's going to be eligible for is going to be based on his earned income of $18,000, right? And so if John were to look up the $18,000 of earned income on the EIC tables, so these are found in the 1040 instructions, $18,000 of income for a single filing taxpayer, no qualifying children, he's going to get $521 for 2021. Now he takes that number and he puts it up here on line 27A. This is where you have the earned income credit reported for the year. So that's his federal earned income tax credit, $521. Okay, so now that he has the 521, he can complete his South Carolina return. So this is the SCH 1040, the 2021 individual income tax return for a South Carolina tax resident. So John completes this as he normally would, right? Now what's going to change here is when he's doing the EIC computation for the year, he's going to get a South Carolina tax credit. So if he scrolls down here, well, scroll down to the bottom of page 2 here, so we can see his South Carolina income subject to tax is going to be $5,463, and then the amount of tax on that $5,400 amount is going to be $71. Okay, so that's important to remember because the South Carolina Earned Income Tax Credit is actually a non-refundable credit. Okay, so what that means is that you can use the South Carolina EITC to offset all of your taxes, but you can't go over it to actually get a refund. Okay, so keep the $71 number in mind because that's what's going to be fully offset. So if we scroll down to the credit section, so here we have State of South Carolina Department of Revenue 2021 tax credits. Now here is a summary of ultimately the number that we're going to have, earned income credit of 434, but the computation is actually done below here. So this is the schedule that you need to be looking at. State of South Carolina, Department of Revenue, South Carolina Earned Income Tax Credit, SC Schedule TC-60. Okay, so for 2021, again, so you've got to complete this entire worksheet. So the first question is, were you a full year resident? If you answered no, stop, you don't qualify. Okay, so that's very important. You have to be a full year South Carolina resident in order to get this credit. Were you eligible for the EITC on your federal return? If you answered no, stop, you do not qualify. Again, this also makes sense, right? If you don't have the EITC at the federal level, You can't get it at South Carolina level because it would basically be you'd be doing 83% times 0, right, which is still 0. So here's the credit computation. Again, remember, the credit, South Carolina, very generous. It's 83.33% of the federal amount. So there's the 521. Remember, that was the federal credit amount on page 2 of our 1040. The credit percentage for this year is 83.33%. South Carolina Earned Income Tax Credit, do some simple math here, and we've got $434. Okay? Now, if we take that number up here, all right, report on line 6, Earned Income Credit, code 60434, but here's the really important part to remember. This is a total amount of non-refundable tax credits. Okay, remember, non-refundable means that you can take the credit to the extent you have tax, but if you've exhausted the tax doing the offset, you can't get a refund of any excess credit amount. So the South Carolina tax that we have from above, remember, there's that $71 number, and then on line 18, it's asking us enter the lesser of line 16 or line 17. Well, the lesser of these two numbers is $71, so we're only allowed to take a $71 credit for the EITC. Now, in this example, John is a low-income taxpayer, right? So he's not paying, well, any tax really in South Carolina at all. But if you find yourself in a different scenario where you do owe South Carolina taxes, you might be able to utilize this whole thing. So the $71 amount of credit flows up here, right? Line 14, line 13, other non-refundable credits, attach SC 1040 TC, and then line 14 is an addition of all of these, right? Okay, so for John, ultimately, he gets a full refund of the state withholding from his wages, but the credit here really is just designed to offset whatever taxes he would have owed in the state. Now, it's still something, right? I mean, $71 is nothing to balk at. So it's, the messaging here is very, very important to be mindful of all of the state deductions, credits that you might be eligible for depending on where you live, right? Remember, every little dollar here helps. So for John, very important, obviously, that he claimed the federal EITC amount here, right? Line 27A, he's got his federal credit amount. So he's getting a refund of, and remember, this is a fully refundable one. So he's getting a refund of his W-2 withholdings there. He's got a 521 number coming from the EITC. And then when he does his state tax return with South Carolina, he makes sure that he captures all the available credits owed to him, being that $71 amount for the state EITC, and then he's ready to go. So, okay, so that covers it for this tutorial. I hope that was helpful. And if you have any questions, obviously, feel free to leave me a comment below. I try to answer as many as I can. And I look forward to seeing you again on the next video. Thank you.